My sister Sophie brought her new fiancé to family dinner, and I hated him immediately. Not because he was rude or inappropriate. The opposite. Arnold Reed was perfect. Too perfect. He said exactly the right things, laughed at exactly the right moments, had exactly the right job and background. He was like a character someone had written specifically to win over a family. And as a corporate lawyer who'd spent 15 years spotting liars in depositions, I knew one thing for certain. Nobody is that perfect. So I started digging into his past. What I found was worse than any affair or criminal record. I found nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's when I realized Arnold Reed wasn't just lying about who he was. He wasn't a real person at all. Before we dive in, have you ever had a gut feeling about someone that turned out to be right? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you love stories about family protection, uncovering deception, and trusting your instincts, please subscribe so you don't miss our next one. Now let me take you back to the dinner where I met the man who wasn't real. As a corporate lawyer at a major firm in a big city, I'd spent over a decade cross-examining witnesses, conducting depositions, and identifying when someone's story didn't quite add up. I could spot inconsistencies, read body language, sense when someone was performing rather than being genuine. So when my 29-year-old sister Sophie brought her new fiancé, Arnold Reed, to our parents' house for dinner, my instincts immediately started screaming. Arnold was perfect. That was the problem. He was 32, tall, handsome in a catalog model way, dark hair always perfectly styled, expensive but not flashy suits, and a smile that showed exactly the right amount of teeth. He worked as an investment banker at a prestigious firm downtown. He brought a $200 bottle of wine to dinner and complimented my mother's cooking with eloquent specificity. He asked my father thoughtful questions about his recent retirement from the family business. He laughed at the right moments, spoke with confident humility about his own achievements, and gazed at Sophie with exactly the right amount of adoration. "How did you two meet?" my mother asked, clearly already smitten. "A tech conference 3 months ago," Sophie said, beaming. "I was giving a presentation on financial forecasting for emerging markets, and Arnold came up afterward to tell me it was the most insightful analysis he heard all day." "I was genuinely impressed," Arnold said, taking Sophie's hand. "Your daughter is brilliant. I knew I had to get to know her better." My parents ate it up. My father, normally skeptical of anyone dating his daughter, was nodding approvingly. My mother was already mentally planning the wedding. But something about Arnold's delivery bothered me. The story was too smooth, too well rehearsed, like he'd told it 100 times before and perfected every beat. "Where did you grow up, Arnold?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Boston. Brookline, actually. Moved to Seattle 5 years ago for work." "What brought you to Seattle specifically?" "The firm offered me a position I couldn't turn down, and honestly, I'd always wanted to live in the Pacific Northwest. The outdoors, the culture, it felt like the right fit." The answer was perfect, detailed enough to seem genuine, but vague enough to be hard to verify. I'd heard witnesses give answers like that when they were constructing plausible lies. "Where did you go to college, Arnold?" I pressed. "Northwestern, business and economics double major." "What year did you graduate?"
Arnold's smile didn't waver. 2013? Why the interrogation, Conrad? Checking my credentials? Everyone laughed. Sophie gave me a warning look that said, "Be nice." "Just getting to know my future brother-in-law," I said lightly. But I was mentally taking notes. Northwestern, 2013, Boston childhood, investment banking. Details I could verify. The rest of the dinner continued in the same way. Arnold was charming, Sophie was radiantly happy, and my parents were completely won over. I was the only one at the table who felt like I was watching a performance rather than meeting a real person. After dinner, as we were saying goodbye on the driveway, Sophie pulled me aside. "Can you try to be less of an asshole?" she said, her tone sharp. "This is important to me. Arnold is important to me. And you've been interrogating him like he's on trial." "I'm just being thorough. You're being paranoid. Not every guy I date is going to hurt me. Arnold is good. He's successful. He treats me well. He makes me happy. Can you please just be supportive?" "Sophie, don't you think 3 months is really fast for an engagement?" "We're not teenagers, Conrad. We're adults who know what we want. And I want Arnold. So please, for once, can you not be the overprotective older brother who thinks no one is good enough for me?" I wanted to argue, to tell her about the alarm bells going off in my head, but she looked so happy, and I had no concrete reason for my suspicions beyond a feeling. "Okay," I said, "I'll back off." But I was lying, because everything about Arnold Reed felt wrong, and I couldn't ignore it. The next day, I started digging. I began with social media. Arnold's Facebook profile existed but was sparse, created 18 months ago, a handful of generic posts about work success and Seattle attractions, maybe 100 friends who all seemed to be professional connections rather than personal ones. No embarrassing college photos, no tagged photos from friends, no digital history that showed a real life being lived. His Instagram was the same. Professional photos. Him at nice restaurants, at the office, at a few Seattle landmarks. Nothing personal, nothing messy, nothing that suggested a real human being with a real history. LinkedIn showed a perfect resume. Northwestern University, 2013 graduate. Various positions at investment firms, each one more prestigious than the last. Current role at Silver Point Capital, a well-regarded firm downtown. Recommendations from colleagues that were glowing but generic. On paper, Arnold Reed was flawless. But that was the problem. Real people aren't flawless. Real people have embarrassing photos from high school. Real people have ex-girlfriends who post passive-aggressive comments. Real people have messy digital footprints that show them being human. Arnold's online presence looked like it had been carefully constructed by someone who understood what a successful 32-year-old investment banker's profile should look like and built it accordingly. I called my friend James, who worked in tech security. "Can you do me a favor? I need you to run a deep background check on someone. Social media history, employment verification, anything you can find." "Is this legal?" "It's research for a potential lawsuit." I hated lying to James, but I couldn't explain that I was investigating my sister's fiancé based on nothing but a gut feeling. "Send me the details." 3 days later, James called back. "Your guy is weird." "What do you mean?" "His social media presence starts 18 months ago. Before that, nothing. No archived pages, no deleted accounts, no trace. It's like he didn't exist online until a year and a half ago." "People can delete old accounts." "Not like this. I'm talking no digital footprint at all. No college newspaper mentions. No high school yearbook photos. No tagged photos from friends that predate his current accounts. Conrad, everyone leaves a trail. This guy has no trail before 18 months ago." I felt my suspicions solidify into something heavier. What about his employment? His current job checks out. He does work at Silver Point Capital, but when I tried to verify his previous employment, things got weird. The companies exist, but when I called the verified dates and positions, I got very scripted responses, like they'd been coached on what to say. Could someone have paid them to provide false references? It's possible, or they could be part of whatever this is. "Conrad, what's going on? Who is this guy?" "My sister's fiancé. And I think he's lying about who he is." James was quiet for a moment. "You want me to dig deeper? Because if he's running some kind of con, you need real evidence before you accuse him." "Dig deeper. I need to know who Arnold Reed really is." Over the next week, while James worked his contacts, I tried to interact normally with Sophie and Arnold. They invited me to lunch twice. Arnold was perfectly pleasant both times, asking about my work, sharing anecdotes about his job, treating Sophie with what appeared to be genuine affection. But I noticed things. The way he'd pause for just a fraction of a second before answering personal questions, as if calculating the right response. The way his stories about his past were detailed, but somehow generic. They could have been anyone's stories, carefully selected to sound plausible. The way he steered conversations away from specifics and toward broader topics. He was good. Really good. If I hadn't been specifically looking for inconsistencies, I would have missed them entirely. Sophie noticed my continued skepticism. After one lunch, she confronted me in the parking lot while Arnold was paying the bill. "What is your problem with Arnold? He's been nothing but kind to you, and you keep treating him like he's a suspect in some crime." "Sophie, doesn't anything about him seem off to you? His background is too perfect. His stories are too polished. He doesn't have any messiness to him." That's called being a well-adjusted adult. Not everyone is as cynical and suspicious as you are. Some people are just good. Nobody is this good. There's something wrong. The only thing wrong is you. You can't stand that I'm happy. You can't stand that someone loves me and wants to marry me. You've been alone so long that you've forgotten what normal relationships look like. That stung, particularly because I had been single for 2 years. But this wasn't about my personal life. This was about the wrongness I felt every time I looked at Arnold Reed. "I'm trying to protect you." "I don't need your protection. I'm 29 years old, I'm the CFO of a major tech company, and I am perfectly capable of making my own decisions about my life. So either get on board with this or stay out of it." She walked back toward the restaurant, leaving me standing in the parking lot with my suspicions and no way to voice them without sounding like exactly what she had accused me of being, a jealous older brother who couldn't accept his sister's happiness. That evening, I sat in my apartment and thought about Sophie. She was right about one thing. She was brilliant and successful. Walsh Technologies, our family's company founded by our grandfather, had grown exponentially under her financial leadership. She'd taken over as CFO 2 years ago and had turned the company's financial strategy around, positioning them to launch a new software platform that could revolutionize data security for enterprise clients. The software launch was in 4 months. It was worth hundreds of millions in potential revenue, and Sophie had access to all of it: the code, the architecture, the business strategy. A cold thought occurred to me. What if Arnold wasn't interested in Sophie? What if he was interested in Walsh Technologies? I pulled up Arnold's LinkedIn again and looked at his current employer, Silver Point Capital. I did a corporate search and found what I was looking for, buried in the subsidiary information. Silver Point Capital was a subsidiary of Meridian Corporation. Meridian Corporation was Walsh Technologies' biggest competitor. They were currently locked in a lawsuit with Walsh Technologies over allegations that Meridian had stolen trade secrets from one of Walsh's earlier software products. The lawsuit was vicious, expensive, and ongoing. And now someone who worked for a Meridian subsidiary was engaged to the CFO of Walsh Technologies. I called James immediately. "I need you to focus on Arnold's employer, Silver Point Capital. Who owns it? Who funds it? Any connection to Meridian Corporation?" "You think this is corporate espionage?" "I think my sister is being targeted." James got back to me 2 days later. "You're onto something. Silver Point Capital is technically independent, but they share office space with the Meridian subsidiary, and several of their executives have Meridian backgrounds. It's not a smoking gun, but it's suspicious as hell." "Can you find out if Arnold actually works there? Like, actually goes to the office, has coworkers who know him?" "I can try. Give me a few more days." But I didn't have a few more days. Sophie called me that evening, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Conrad, I know you've been skeptical, but I need you to be there for this. Arnold and I are having an engagement party next weekend. Mom and Dad are hosting. I need you to come, and I need you to be supportive. Please, for me." I couldn't say no. "I'll be there." "And Conrad, please don't ruin this. This is the happiest I've been in years. I need my family to be happy for me. I am happy for you, Sophie. I just want to make sure that I'm making the right choice. I know, but I am. Arnold is the right choice. You'll see. The engagement party was held at my parents' house the following Saturday. 50 guests, family, friends, colleagues from Walsh Technologies. Arnold worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, making small talk, charming everyone he met. I watched him carefully. His performance was flawless, but it was a performance. I was more convinced of that than ever. James called me while I was standing in my parents' backyard, watching Arnold laugh at something my father said. "Conrad, I've got something. Arnold Reed doesn't actually work at Silver Point Capital." "What do you mean? His LinkedIn says—" "I know what it says, but I had someone stake out the Silver Point offices for the past 3 days. Arnold shows up twice a week for about an hour each time. He goes in, sits at a conference room, have a meeting, then leaves. The rest of the time, he doesn't exist there. And when I talk to some of the employees, they barely know him. He's listed as a consultant, but nobody can tell me what he actually does." My heart was pounding. "So where does he actually work?" "I don't know, but Conrad, I found something else. I did a reverse image search on Arnold's LinkedIn photo. That exact photo, professionally shot, perfectly lit, shows up on a website for a company called Perfect Partners Ltd. What is that? It's a professional services company. Very discreet, very expensive. Their website is vague, but from what I can piece together, it's an agency to hire professional actors, specifically for corporate roles."
What the hell does that mean? Conrad, I think Arnold is a professional con artist, and either your sister hired a surrogate fiancé or she's being targeted by someone. I hung up and immediately went looking for Sophie. I found her in the kitchen, arranging appetizers with my mother. "Sophie, I need to talk to you, now, privately." She looked at me with annoyance. "Conrad, I'm in the middle of now." Something in my tone made her follow me into my father's study. I closed the door and pulled out my phone, showing her the Perfect Partners website and the photo of Arnold. "Sophie, listen to me. Arnold isn't who he says he is. He's part of a company that provides professional actors to represent corporate roles in real life. I think he was hired to get close to you to access Walsh Technologies' information." She stared at the phone, then at me. "You've lost your mind. Look at the website. Look at his photo. It's the exact same photo from his LinkedIn. Sophie, he's not a real investment banker. He's an actor hired to marry you and steal company secrets. He doesn't work where he says. My friend investigated and discovered—" "Get out. Sophie, get out of this house. Get out of this party. Get out of my life." Her voice was shaking with rage. "You asked someone to stalk my fiancé? You've been investigating him like he's a criminal, and now you're showing me some insane conspiracy theory website as proof that the man I love is fake? I'm trying to protect you. You're trying to control me. You can't stand that I have a life that doesn't revolve around you and your paranoid instincts. Arnold is real. His job is real. His love for me is real. And you've just proven that you care more about being right than about my happiness." She left the study and found Arnold in the living room. I watched through the doorway as she whispered something to him, gesturing back toward where I stood. Arnold's expression shifted to concern, and he put his arm around her protectively. My mother appeared beside me. "Conrad, what did you say to your sister? She's crying." "Mom, I need you to listen to me. Arnold Reed isn't—" "Stop." My mother's voice was cold. "I've watched you sabotage your sister's happiness for weeks now. Whatever paranoid theory you've constructed, I don't want to hear it. You need to apologize to Sophie and Arnold, or you need to leave. I'm trying to protect her from— You're trying to protect yourself from losing your little sister. But Conrad, she's not yours to lose. She's building her own life, and you need to let her. Now apologize or leave." I looked at Sophie, who was standing with Arnold, his arm around her shoulders, both of them looking at me with expressions of hurt and anger. I looked at my parents, who clearly thought I was the problem. I looked at the 50 guests who were starting to notice the tension. I left. For the next 2 weeks, my family didn't speak to me. Sophie blocked my number. My parents sent me a text asking me not to contact them until I was prepared to apologize for my behavior. But I couldn't let it go, because I knew I was right. I hired a private investigator, a real one, not just my tech friend. A woman named Detective Lisa Young, who specialized in corporate espionage cases. I showed her everything I had, the Perfect Partners website, the employment inconsistencies, the timeline of Arnold meeting Sophie right as Walsh Technologies was preparing their major software launch. "This looks like a professional operation," Lisa said after reviewing my evidence. "But I need more before we can prove anything. Let me dig into Perfect Partners Ltd. And see what I can find."
A week later, she called me with news. "Conrad, Perfect Partners is a front company for corporate espionage operations. They've been linked to at least a dozen cases of operatives forming relationships to extract information. The company officially provides corporate relationship consulting, but what they actually do is recruit attractive, charismatic people, often struggling actors, and train them to form romantic connections with targets. Can you prove Arnold works for them?" "Not yet, but I found something interesting. The man you know as Arnold Reed? His real name is Joshua Gordon. He's a 32-year-old actor from Los Angeles. Headshots, demo reels, the works. 3 years ago, he disappeared from the acting scene. No auditions, no performances. Around that same time, Perfect Partners expanded their operations." She showed me a photo from Joshua Gordon's acting portfolio. It was unmistakably Arnold. Same face, same smile, but with a different energy. This photo showed someone trying to get noticed, trying to stand out. Arnold's photos showed someone trying to blend in, to appear trustworthy and unremarkable. "So what's his mission?" I asked. "If this follows their typical pattern, he's supposed to marry your sister, gain access to her work systems, and steal whatever intellectual property he's been hired to obtain. In this case, probably Walsh Technologies' new software platform, as you suspected. Once he has what he needs, he'll disappear, file for divorce, claim it didn't work out, and your sister will be left heartbroken while her company's trade secrets are sold to the highest bidder." "How do I stop him?" "That's the hard part. Your sister won't believe you without proof, and Joshua is good. He won't slip up easily. But there's one advantage we have. He doesn't know you're onto him. If we can create a situation where he shows his hand, we might be able to catch him in the act." "What kind of situation?" Lisa smiled grimly. "We make him think he's about to succeed. We give him an opportunity to steal what he's after, and we catch him doing it." It took me another week to set everything up, and it required doing something that made me feel sick. I had to manipulate Sophie. I sent her an email from a new address she wouldn't have blocked, apologizing profusely for my behavior and asking if we could meet for coffee. She didn't respond for 3 days, but eventually she agreed. One conversation, nothing more. We met at a neutral coffee shop. Sophie looked tired and sad, and I felt a wave of guilt for putting her through this, but I pushed forward with the plan. "Sophie, I'm sorry. You were right. I was being paranoid and overprotective. I've been seeing a therapist about it, actually. About my control issues, my difficulty letting you be independent. I realize now that I was projecting my own fears onto your relationship." "You're seeing a therapist?" "Yeah, and it's helped me realize that Arnold he's good for you. You're happy, and that should be enough for me. I'm sorry I couldn't see that before. Conrad, I appreciate you saying that, but you really hurt me. You hurt Arnold, too. He was genuinely confused about why you hated him so much. I know, and I want to make it right. I want to apologize to him in person." "Will you do that?" "Yes, of course. Anything to see you happy." I hated to lie to her. "Maybe we can all have dinner." "Oh, I'm working late every day this week. With the new prototype and everything? I see. Maybe I can meet him alone if you don't mind. Yes, I guess that's fine. He's staying at my place. He's been working from home a few days a week. Maybe you can stop by and talk to him.
That's a great idea. Also, Dad asked me to drop off some documents at your place, investor reports for the launch. Is it really okay if I swing by this week? I know you've been keeping them in your home office for review. It was a lie. My father hadn't asked me to do anything, but Sophie didn't question it. Sure, I'll tell him you're coming by. Perfect. And Sophie, I really am happy for you. I'm sorry it took me so long to get there. She hugged me, and I felt like the worst brother in the world for what I was about to do. But I had to protect her, even if it meant she'd hate me. I coordinated with Detective Young, and through her contacts with the FBI's corporate espionage operation. Because if Arnold was part of Perfect Partners' corporate espionage operation, this was a federal crime. The plan was simple. I had told Sophie I was dropping off documents. But for Arnold, I'd say it was a hard drive containing a prototype of the new software platform, something he would absolutely want to steal. I went to Sophie's house on a Thursday afternoon, when I knew Arnold would be there alone. I knocked on the door with a briefcase containing nothing but blank paper. Arnold answered with his perfect smile. "Conrad, Sophie said you were stopping by." "Yeah, I'm really sorry for my behavior before, for distrusting you. I was just being the big bother, you know?" "Of course, bro," he fist-bumped me. "I'm hoping we can get along." "Thank you for understanding. I'm in a hurry, but I need to drop off some documents. Won't take a minute." I walked past him into Sophie's home office. Arnold followed, watching carefully. I made a show of leaving a briefcase on Sophie's desk. Then I pulled out a small external hard drive. Also, Sophie asked me to leave this here. It's the prototype code for the software launch. She needs to review it this weekend, but didn't want to bring it to the office for security reasons. Can you make sure she sees it? I watched Arnold's eyes. For just a fraction of a second, his perfect mask slipped. He looked at that hard drive with an expression of hunger that confirmed everything I'd suspected. "Sure," he said smoothly. "I'll make sure she gets it." I left, but I didn't go far. Detective Young and 2 FBI agents were waiting in an unmarked van down the street. We had planted cameras in a suitcase, with legal authorization from the FBI as part of their corporate espionage investigation. We watched on a laptop screen as Arnold waited exactly 5 minutes after I left. Then he went into Sophie's office, locked the door, and pulled out a specialized device designed to copy hard drives quickly. We watched him connect the hard drive I'd left, start the copying process, and begin typing on his phone, probably reporting to whoever had hired him that he'd obtained the target data. "That's enough," the FBI agent said. "Let's go." They moved fast. Within 60 seconds, federal agents were entering Sophie's house with a warrant. I followed them in, my heart pounding. Arnold, Joshua, looked up from the desk with genuine shock on his face for the first time since I'd met him. His perfect composure finally cracked. "Arnold Gordon," the FBI agent said, "you're under arrest for corporate espionage, fraud, and conspiracy to commit theft of trade secrets." As they read him his rights and handcuffed him, Arnold looked at me with an expression of cold fury. "You set me up." "I protected my sister. There's a difference." Sophie arrived home 20 minutes later. I'd called her from the house, told her there was an emergency. She walked in to find FBI agents in her home office, her fiancé in handcuffs, and me standing in her living room looking like I'd been through a war. "Conrad, what the hell is going on?" Sophie, I need you to listen to me. Arnold isn't who you think he is. His real name is Joshua Gordon. He's an actor who was hired by a corporate espionage company to form a relationship with you and steal Walsh Technologies' software. That's insane. It's true, the FBI agent interrupted. Miss Walsh, we've been investigating Perfect Partners Ltd. for several months. They recruit operatives to form romantic relationships with targets for the purpose of corporate espionage. Joshua Gordon is one of their most successful operatives. This was his 7th assignment. Sophie looked at Arnold, Joshua, who was sitting on her couch in handcuffs. "Is this true?" He didn't answer immediately. Then, with his perfect mask completely gone, he shrugged. It was a job, nothing personal. "Nothing personal?" Sophie's voice broke. "You asked me to marry you. You told me you loved me. You met my family. She couldn't finish. "I did what I was paid to do. I'm good at my job. You were a target. Meridian Corporation paid Perfect Partners $200,000 to get access to your software before launch. I would have married you, copied everything I could access, filed for divorce a few months later, and you never would have known what really happened. But your brother," he glared at me, "turned out to be smarter than we expected." Sophie sank onto a chair, her face white. "This isn't real. This can't be real." I sat down beside her, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't pull away from me. "I'm so sorry, Sophie. I'm so sorry you had to find out this way, but I couldn't let him hurt you." The FBI took Joshua away. They'd later tell us he confessed to everything in exchange for a plea deal. Gave them names, operations, clients. Perfect Partners Ltd. was shut down, several operatives were arrested, and Meridian Corporation faced criminal charges for their role in the corporate espionage scheme. But that was all bureaucracy and legal proceedings. What mattered in that moment was my sister, sitting in her living room, processing that the man she'd planned to marry had never been real. Over the following weeks, Sophie went through a complicated grieving process. She was grieving the loss of a relationship, even though that relationship had been a lie. She was angry at Joshua for deceiving her, at herself for not seeing it, at me for being right when she desperately wanted me to be wrong. Our parents apologized to me, shamefaced about how they'd dismissed my concerns. I accepted the apology, but didn't need it. I hadn't been trying to prove anything to them. I'd just been trying to protect my sister. Sophie took a leave of absence from Walsh Technologies to process everything, and slowly, very slowly, she began to heal. 3 weeks after Joshua's arrest, Sophie and I met for coffee. The first real conversation we'd had since that terrible day in her house. "I need to say something, and I need you to let me say it without interrupting." "Okay." "You were right about everything. Arnold, Joshua, whatever his name was, he was exactly what you said he was. And I was so desperate to be happy, so desperate to prove that I could have a relationship that worked, that I ignored every red flag you were trying to show me. Sophie, let me finish. You risked our entire relationship to protect me. You let me hate you. Let Mom and Dad hate you. Let everyone think you were the problem. And you did it anyway, because you cared more about keeping me safe than about being liked." She wiped tears from her eyes. "I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. I'm so sorry I called you paranoid and jealous and controlling. You were the only one who saw the truth, and I punished you for it. But Conrad, you saved me. If you hadn't kept digging, if you hadn't set that trap, I would have married him. He would have stolen everything from Walsh Technologies, and I would have spent the rest of my life wondering what I'd done wrong, never knowing that he was never real to begin with." "You didn't do anything wrong," I said firmly. "You were targeted by professionals who are very, very good at what they do. Joshua Gordon have been trained for years to create believable false identities and form convincing relationships. You're not stupid or naive for believing him. You're human. But you didn't believe him. You saw through him from day one. Because I'm a paranoid lawyer who spent 15 years learning to spot liars. And because I know you. I know you're brilliant and careful and thoughtful. So when you fell for someone that fast, with someone who seemed that perfect, it didn't match who you are. That's what made me suspicious. Not him specifically, but the fact that you were acting out of character." Sophie managed a small smile.
So you were profiling me, not him? I was protecting you. That's what big brothers do. She reached across the table and took my hand. Thank you for being stubborn and annoying and right. Thank you for not giving up even when I told you to. Thank you for being the kind of brother who loves me enough to be the villain when necessary. Always. 2 months later, Sophie was back at work and stronger than before. Walsh Technologies launched their software platform successfully, with enhanced security protocols after the espionage scare. As for me, I'd gained a reputation as someone who could spot corporate espionage operations. Several companies had approached me about consulting on security. I'd even testified as an expert witness in 2 cases involving Perfect Partners operatives. But the most important thing was that Sophie and I had rebuilt our relationship. We had dinner every week. She'd sometimes joke about my paranoid instincts, but she'd also started trusting those instincts when I flagged something as suspicious. One evening over dinner, she asked me, "Do you think I'll ever be able to trust someone again? Romantically, I mean." "Yes," I said without hesitation, "because you'll be smarter now. You'll recognize the red flags, and you'll know that if something seems too perfect, it probably is." "Will you vet all my future dates?" she asked with a slight smile. "Only if you want me to. But Sophie, you don't need me to protect you from everything. You're smart enough to protect yourself. You just needed to learn that not everyone is trustworthy, even when they seem perfect." "Especially when they seem perfect," she corrected. "Especially then." She raised her wine glass. "To imperfect people who are real. They're way better than perfect people who aren't." I raised mine. "To being real and to trusting your instincts." We drank to that. To imperfect, real relationships. To family who protects each other, even when it's difficult. To the instincts that tell us when something is wrong, even when we can't prove it yet. And to the fact that sometimes being the villain is the most loving thing you can do. Joshua Gordon was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. Perfect Partners Limited was shut down permanently. Meridian Corporation paid a massive settlement to Walsh Technologies and faced criminal penalties.
But the real story wasn't about revenge or punishment. It was about a woman who'd been targeted, a brother who'd refused to stop protecting her, and the fact that sometimes love means trusting your instincts, even when everyone tells you you're paranoid. Arnold Reed had been perfect, and that's exactly what made him dangerous. Because real people aren't perfect. Real people are messy and complicated and human. And when someone seems too good to be true, it's because they usually are. Have you ever had a gut feeling about someone that turned out to be right? Share your story in the comments below. If this story about trusting your instincts, family protection, and exposing dangerous deception touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more meaningful stories every day. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss our next compelling tale. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.